Welcome to the Pewtercast. I'm going to redo that because I completely screwed that up.
I am your host, Brent Ren. Here always with my co-host. Can finally hear himself, Ren Dax. How you doing, Ren?
Let's try it again.
Touchdown Tampa Bay. You're listening to the Pewtercast.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host, joined as always by my good friend, my co-host, my cohort, Ren, the Man-zier Dax. Ren, welcome back, buddy.
That's a terrible way to introduce me. Welcome back. Hello.
How you sounding over there? Can you hear everything okay?
I can. Yes, for the third time in 5 years, I can hear myself.
We just spent like an hour just trying to tune in Ren's mic and get that stuff figured out. Hey, we're upgrading equipment over here at the Pewtercast. Lots of fun stuff. But hey, Ren, we are back at it, man. We are kind of past that every 2 weeks mark. Football's back as we record this. Training camp week 1 is in the books. Whatever this week, I know it's technically training camp, but it doesn't feel like training camp. But anyway, here we are. We're here to talk about it.
It's go time. It's fine. There's finally something to talk about. Transactions have been made. Brady has been spotted at Advent. I almost said Advent Training Center, Advent Health Training Center. Things
or
are
training canter, as our friend Mark Cook puts it.
Training canter.
Yeah, did you see that in one of his articles? He's like, it was just a typo. And I texted him. He's like, oh crap.
That's what they pay me for. I should probably change that. Yeah, so I mean things are different, but finally, as you alluded to, they're not even shirts and shells, they're just in shirts. Mm-hmm. But footballs are being passed around, and they're running
Brady
around.
And Gronk are wearing Tampa Bay colors, team issue wear out there, which is awesome.
Yeah. Have you noticed that Brady? I haven't seen him. Is he wearing a brassiere underneath his t-shirt?
The Man-zier. It wouldn't surprise me if he is wearing one, but he doesn't want it to be seen, so he wears like an overshirt. That wouldn't surprise me. But
it's I don't think he wears one.
He may not. Tom Brady may also be like, I don't care about your next gen stats. I'm Tom Brady.
I think it's like I'm not going to run anywhere. Like there
you go.
You've seen me try to run routes and catch passes. It's not good.
Right.
Like if you need 1 yard on 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, like I'll get it for you. I'm one of the greatest ever, but yeah, I don't, no, I'm not wearing that. There's no point. Give it to somebody else.
Right. It's something. Hey, listen, this Man-zier, this Catapult Sports training, can we call it a training bra? Because that's kind of what it is. We're going to talk about that a little bit later because that, for whatever reason, has become big news. But Ren, as we look, typically this time of year, Ren's training camp journal would be rolling pretty hardcore by now.
I know. I was thinking about that today. And the more I sort of find out about, this tier system and, I think the the few media people that are allowed in are in tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll never get into tier 2 because it's capped. And then they're like only letting them view from like literally 100 yards away. And we'll talk about that because there's plenty of up close video coming out of Buccaneers on Buccaneers.com.
Right.
But all these media outlets, they have them like in the cheap seats where they can't, it's just
they got them in portable trailers too. Like
well that's because
people in the facility and stuff, but still.
No, it's because the media room is now a player's meeting room because it's so big.
Oh, is that what they turned that into?
Yeah, it's.
I was wondering I was trying to think when they said that they moved all the player meetings to allow for social distancing with all the different places, and you and I have a pretty good grasp of One Buccaneer Place or Advent Health Training Center of what that facility looks like.
Well, at least the ground
inside
floor.
walls. Yeah, right. At least the ground floor. we've got a pretty good feel for that. And I was trying to think of like where all they're putting people, because the hallway they use where they do their team classrooms, I mean, they're not tiny rooms, but they're not huge.
No.
So if they're spreading people out, yeah. Anyway, we'll get into all that. So here's what we're going to do, Ren. We were talking about it before. For those of you that are new, that are joining the Pewtercast for the first time this year, first of all, welcome. But during the season, Ren and I, we have 3 or 4 shows that come out every week. They all have a different flavor. And the one that comes out at the end of the week, or maybe you even say it kind of kicks off the week in some cases, is what we call Buc'In the News. It's where we take the week's news. All the storylines have processed, everything has come out, and we recap them. We give our input, our analysis on those things. And that's kind of, I think, how we decided to tackle this particular day, because we can't sit there and say, here's what we saw when we were at training camp today, and here's what we saw. Because a lot of the last couple of years, Ren, we've had media credentials for training camp, full media credentials. Yeah. And we don't have that this year with the pandemic.
No. We didn't make the cut.
Right. We got busted back down. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do. And the way that works, guys, is we are going to be talking about the transactions. And there has been a lot of transactions here over the last little bit. We'll be talking about the headlines. Of course, we'll finish up with the injury report and predictive inactives.
No, we won't be doing those two, but we will be doing transactions. We'll be doing headlines. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about training camp week 1 here, kind of Buc'In the News style. That's coming to you on today's episode of the Pewtercast. Welcome back to the Pewtercast. I'm Brent. Ren is sitting right over there next to me. Ren, buddy. Social distancing by about 900 miles.
But for, those that are watching this on YouTube, you're watching the video version of this feed. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, because Ren's just right there.
It's true.
And I love that I've gotten the point down, because it's backwards. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
you finally trained your brain.
I did. Yeah, I did. Hey, by the way, if anybody wants to know, you go over to youtube.com/
I got it wrong.
Rich tried. You guys need to go watch this segment of the video over at youtube.com/the Pewtercast and watch that whole interaction that just happened.
Completely unnecessary.
But you should go over there and subscribe and smash the bell icon, because here's the other thing. One of those other shows, I talked about us doing a bunch of different shows. One of the other shows we do is a live call-in show post-game. Mm-hmm. We plan on doing all 16 of those this year as well. And you're going to want to know as soon as we go live. So make sure you guys go over there, subscribe, hit that bell icon. You guys will know exactly when we go live. You guys will be able to call in, and we'll talk about the game that we just got to see. But Ren, back to today's topic at hand. Training camp week 1 is.
Do you think I should do? What do you think of Ren's recap, where I listen to 4 or 5 Buccaneer podcasts, and then just bag on them for what they got wrong, and do that as a pod instead of the training camp journal?
If you would like to do that, and you can get a sponsor for that show.
Why do I have to get a sponsor?
Because I don't think you'll be able to do it. So it'll. No, you remember, we was talk about, we don't do the Razzies anymore during the Pewtercast Awards.
Yeah,
we're not going to do that either, right?
I don't know. It could be pretty entertaining.
It could be. Once you record a few episodes, let's see how that goes.
Record them and put them up.
Hey, back to today. We are talking about Buccaneers and things that have happened in this first week. And we always start these kinds of shows talking about the transactions. It just helps us give us a little form and format. There's been actually several as we go through. We know that earlier this week, I think it was, Ren, maybe late last week, Keyshawn Vaughn got put on the COVID-19 list.
He did.
Raymond Calais got put on the COVID-19 list. Cedric Ware was on the COVID-19 list. What the heck's going on with that running back room? I wanted, have you heard, was there any, these guys all got it from each other, or it's just a fluke that all 3 of these guys happen to be running backs? Because
what kind of question? We just talked about how we have no access.
no, like have you heard anybody out there ask that question? Because I think that would be like a media question to ask.
But
like,
you can't, because the COVID list isn't necessary. You have it. It just means you've come in contact with somebody.
You had an exposure. Yeah.
You had an exposure. So yeah, you can't do that. I think it's a little silly, but also I just don't care. I mean, I'm not a COVID alarmist.
Right.
Like I don't think anyone in the NFL, if they get COVID, is going to get gravely ill, let alone, God forbid, pass on. So, these guys are robust enough and young enough. They're just going to shake it off and come right back, which, 2 of them did.
Speaking of which, yeah. Okay, there was a little bit of confusion that came out of this because today the Buccaneers brought back, the initial report said it was Keyshawn Vaughn and Cedric Ware came off the COVID-19 list.
Right.
But then that got corrected and saying it wasn't Keyshawn Vaughn. It was Raymond Calais who got brought off the list. However, right. Rick Stroud also says, but we've seen the photos and conditioning and Keyshawn Vaughn is there. So he clearly has also come off the list as well.
Well, apparently not. I mean,
yeah.
This is how the story goes. Keyshawn, as far as Keyshawn Vaughn goes, he was put on the COVID list. And then when reporters were out there to be able to watch practice from across the street, they saw Keyshawn Vaughn like walking around the outside doing sort of drills by himself, running sprints, stretching, that type of deal. And he had a mask on. Now, today, which the reporters weren't allowed to be at, when the Buccaneers put up their hey, look, photos of day 4 of training camp. There's a picture of Keyshawn Vaughn running. He's not really near anybody, but a lot of these photos, no one is. You can only see that one person, and he doesn't have a mask on. So that would lead you to believe, since that's the first time he's ever been in any of these pictures that they've done every single day for training camp, that would lead you to believe, oh, Keyshawn Vaughn's back. And then they release a statement, Keyshawn Vaughn's back. And they're like, oh, nope, sorry. So, he'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, the day after that. But yeah, he'll be back soon. But there is a little bit of confusion about if he's back or not.
Right. So technically, as it is right now, as we record this, it's Raymond Calais and Cedric Ware. And as far as we know, to the best of our knowledge, Ren, Keyshawn Vaughn is still on the COVID-19 list. What that really matters, though, is because as soon as they brought back Cedric Ware, they cut him.
Yep.
And he is gone. He's off the team now.
That's right.
And probably no surprise, that has a lot to do with the fact that the Buccaneers made a lot of people made a big deal out of this. Is it right to say is a big signing? Lesean Shady McCoy is joining the retirement crew here in Tampa with Tom Brady and Gronk and all those guys.
The retirement crew.
JPP, Levante's going out there somewhere.
Sue.
That's right, Sue. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, McCoy's coming. We got a new McCoy in town. And is it right to say that that's a big signing at this point? I mean, it was for league minimum effectively, and the Buccaneers wound up saving money by signing him.
It's a big name. That's for sure.
Sure.
Like, and he's produced at a very high level. I mean, he's been to like 6 Pro Bowls. He led the league in rushing. He's one of those dual threat guys that, like, if you were smart enough to draft on your fantasy team, he probably helped you win a couple of championships.
He did for me for years.
See, there you go.
He was my go-to guy for years.
Yeah, and before him, it was Westbrook. Like, the Eagles sort of churn out these guys that they throw the ball to a lot. It's like, okay, the Eagles go for 80 on touchdown drive, and so they had 9 plays. 5 of them, McCoy touched the ball. Like 3 catches and 2 runs, and he got like 59 yards. And he did that like every possession for like years. Then he moved on to Buffalo, and then of course at Kansas City, and that's why everyone's kind of down on him. And I get it, because if you're a running back in Andy Reid's offense and you can't put up numbers, and you get benched for a guy named Damian Williams, I mean, I understand that he won a Super Bowl and he ended up being the starting running back, but I didn't know who that guy was. I still really don't know who he is. So I can see where people would think that his best years are behind him, but he still averaged like over 5 yards a carry the few times he did touch the ball. but when we signed him, it felt like Buccaneer fans were like, oh, is it going to be him or Jones? Who's going to get the ball? And immediately I thought, I'm like, no, I'm like, he's here to, like, either Dare or Logan are gone. Like, he's here to take one of their two spots is what he's there for. He's there to be the third down specialist,
right?
Which would be a tremendous upgrade from Dare.
Sorry, Dare, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it would be. It does. I don't know that it necessarily means that Dare is gone, but it's certainly he would be your preferred guy. And I mean, I was thinking the exact same thing because I do remember watching him with the Chiefs last year, and I've seen a few other people comment on this, but I mean, he got benched like mid-season because he kept coughing up the ball, like he just couldn't.
Yeah, you don't fumble. Well, he's always sort of had that problem. He carries the ball like it has COVID on it.
Oh
wow. So it's way out, way away from his body, and he's kind of loose with it. But again, he's led the league in rushing, and he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, somewhere around there, and it's a veteran presence in the locker room that Bruce tried to do, or in the running back room that Bruce tried to do with Andre Ellington last year. Remember, they brought him in. He just didn't make the team. So, but I think Lesean McCoy, he's ring chasing, and that's fine because what he brings the team, and he knows that he's not there to carry the load. He's there to find a niche, and his niche is going to be like it's third and obvious passing situation. You can throw him the ball. It's like 3rd and 12. You can throw him 8 yards, and he can get you the 12. Where Dare would get you 9. He'd just turn around and fall down.
And I mean, you mentioned the idea that he brings that veteran presence. I was thinking that the other day, like our most veteran guy in the running back room is ROJO until the other day. Now, I mean, I know we had Ware, but honestly, I'd completely even forgotten he was on the team.
Right.
And I don't even know how long Ware's been around. I really don't.
It's just the second year.
Okay, great. So it still was ROJO.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? Is there another Ware who's been around big?
Andre Ware.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah. It's not the same guy at all. But I mean, so ROJO, I mean, is our most senior veteran guy in the running back room to bring in that
Marcus
Andre
Ware.
Ellington.
That's probably
that might be.
It's Marcus. Andre Ware was a quarterback for Detroit way back in the day.
Yeah.
Marcus Ware plays defensive end for the Cowboys.
Okay, cool.
The end.
Yeah, I'm done. But I mean, it was a very Jason light move to me. We've seen Jason do this lots of times because they just drafted 2 running backs this year. I don't know if both are going to make it. Maybe they do. Maybe one's a practice squad guy.
Overload the position.
And bring in the veteran guy. And I agree. I think that he's really going to be pursuing. And BA said it in his presser today or yesterday that the job is ROJO's. In fact, I think that was the number one thing that came out of the presser that the media jumped on is the job is ROJO's. Everybody else is fighting for those last couple of spots. And and he said what we said, Ren, on our last show where we did our pre-training camp show, it's going to come down to who contributes on special teams, who can carve out that niche.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. What percentage of a chance would you say exists that Lesean McCoy gets cut when we get to the roster cut downs? Because he's not an expensive cut if we do. Like we don't have money tied up in this guy.
I think it's 0.
You think so?
I think it's 0. I think that he could have done everything that Damian Williams did last year and maybe have done it better, even at his age. He might have been 31. He's 32 now. He still could have been 32 then. But like you said, he couldn't hang on the football. And Andy Reid's one of the main reasons they drafted Hunt was because he never fumbled in college. Like never.
Right.
0. Fumbled his first NFL carry. Remember that? He never fumbles in college. That's why he's here. Fumble. But that's one of the reasons Andrew Reid got him. And, and he was kind of hoping what Bruce Arians is hoping for, bringing him in here, and Jason Light, veteran leadership. This team's ready to win now. Got a guy who's been there, done that, can sort of show the younger guys what to do during playoff time, how to be a pro. But he was brought in to be the number one back. He's not here to be the number one back. He's here to do exactly what he did during the playoff run for Kansas City, except maybe get the ball a little more, because I don't even think they gave him the ball. I don't think he even played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't paying close enough attention to be honest to who another team out on the field and didn't. So Shady is in, Cedric Ware is out, Raymond Calais is back on the field, and Keyshawn Vaughn, we expect to see him here in the next day or so, ramping up that particular position battle. Obviously, Dare is in, and I don't think people should count out Dare just yet. I really don't. He may surprise. I've heard his name a lot. A lot of people are saying his name.
Yeah, I think TJ Logan's the one who should really look out for, because they brought him in to be a return guy, but he really, he was fine, but he wasn't great. Well, now we got Raymond Calais,
Mm-hmm.
And then when TJ Logan kind of filled in a little bit at the running back position, did some okay things, but nothing can't be replaced. So, he's just, what's going to keep Dare around is probably his contract. He's a little younger, and he does everything okay. Like, Dare can probably return kickoffs just as well as TJ Logan, but he can pick up the blitz better than TJ Logan. He can catch the ball in the backfield just as good as TJ Logan. TJ Logan might be better at making people miss in the open field, but is that enough?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you just said, it's going to be out of those two guys who can give you the most on special teams, and Dare can block on punts and go down and cover punts, and TJ Logan, not necessarily can do that.
All right.
I
want to put a pin in this conversation because I want to come back to it in the next segment.
Sure.
Where instead of talking about the guys lower in the depth chart, I want to reference what BA was saying as far as Rojo and the way he's doing. So I want to come back to that in just a few minutes. So
the good stuff. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's get to the guys we're actually going to want to watch play on Sundays. Anyway,
the good cuts, the good roster moves.
Oh yeah. Let's get to those. So we have Lesean Shady McCoy, Cedric Ware is gone, Keyshawn Vaughn, Raymond. Buccaneers also released somebody else, a little bit of a surprise. Ren,
no,
the timing of it may be a surprise. The fact that it happened now and not later.
It was a little early. I will say that I thought they would give him more of a chance to sort of maybe he gets it this year. Because he was a second round pick. Of course, we're talking about MJ Stewart.
Yes.
Yeah. So they ejected him, man. He went from, playing safety to playing outside corner to playing nickel to not playing to being a healthy scratch to making it through 4 days of training camp, and he's gone.
Do we have any word on why or what he's been doing over the last? I haven't seen anything about MJ Stewart. Just sort of surprised, like counting down the days that he would be gone. To be honest with you.
Yikes. I don't think that's what he was doing. No, I don't.
No, I don't think he was doing. No, I'm just saying I was kind of just sitting around waiting for him to be gone. I didn't think he would make the cut at all. I don't think when you and Prime and I did our 53-man roster, I don't think we had MJ Stewart on the roster at all.
No, none of us did.
Yeah,
we all had him not making it. But again,
I think he'd make it through training camp at least.
Right, exactly. Like you, as being a second round pick, and if he did play games, take snaps at outside corner, did take snaps at nickel, did take snaps at safety, that with that versatility, you would want at least to give him as many chances as possible to fail. So either he came back not in shape, or he came back and maybe he wasn't great in the playbook, and he comes back and he wasn't great in the playbook again and didn't sort of study. These are all, maybe he did everything right, and they're just like, look, we got to get down to 80 guys in a couple of days, and why waste your time? You're not going to make the team. Try to go latch on somewhere else. And
I had that exact same thought, except for I believe the Bucs are under 80 now.
What?
I don't think they're at 80. I think they're under 80. They're like 78, 79.
Is that our average median age with the signing of Brady and Gronk and Shady?
I think when you factor in the coaches as well, yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
But anyway, it really was. And I mean, this is pure total speculation, and because we're the gossip show, so this is what we do. No, we're not. But this was one of those things that we always heard about Bruce Arians of like, remember what was that show that Hard Knocks, where he's like, I'm going to cut you for parking in the wrong parking spot. Like if MJ Stewart came back, as you said, maybe out of shape, maybe not in the playbook enough or something. And this was all right, dude, you're done. You're out. Go. Like, we don't know. It's pure speculation, but
maybe he refused. Maybe he refused to wear a Man-zier.
A Man-zier. There you go. That can we coin that term? Is anyone else using that phrase?
Yes.
Are they? It's too bad.
You can still use it. You don't have to copy. It's not copyrighted. Wrote it.
I could do it. I could do it. I got to tell you, you sent me that as a text, and I was like I thought it was somebody's last name. I was like, what is this? And then I understood. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later as well. MJ Stewart's gone. All right, final transaction. Oh, wait. With MJ Stewart, just for the record, I did look it up. He is going to leave us with a shade under $1 million in dead cap money this year, unless he gets picked up by another team and they take that on. $888.5 thousand dead cap money this year, and he will have a hit of $444.2 thousand in dead cap for next year as well. So we will be hanging on to that here over the next little bit. Like I said, unless he gets picked up. Yeah,
he's the worst. What a terrible human.
I think, by the way, our entire dead cap money this year was like $875,000.
Yeah, and it's like from Roberto Aguayo
and Kendall Beckwith. I think it's those two guys, right? By the way, that also happened. The Buccaneers finally officially released Kendall Beckwith.
Finally retired him.
Yeah. So I guess that meant he got healthy enough for them to release him.
I don't know. I've always speculated that I thought they were just doing him a solid. Like, we're just gonna, we're gonna keep you on IR and you'll be able to play out your rookie contract because you really got jobbed. It wasn't anything stupid you were doing. It was like your friend was driving, and who knows if he was doing something stupid. Just terrible luck. Like his friend was driving, got in a car accident where it nearly took your foot off the bottom of your leg, and like your really promising NFL career just came to you just, it's like
It's so bad. It's just too bad. I mean,
it is. It's
you
really
see a guy
sad.
like MJ Stewart flame out. He just didn't have. I mean, let's just cut it. He just didn't have what it takes.
Yeah.
Kendall Beckwith had what it takes. He
Yeah.
could have had a great career in this league, and a car accident got it. So
that he wasn't even driving.
Right. And JPP is driving, spins his car out, breaks his neck, and he still comes back. It's crazy how that works. All right, final one. I'm not comparing Kendall to JPP. I'm not trying to do that. I just comparing situations all. Final one. The Buccaneers, Ren, had one person on their entire team at the deadline announce that they were choosing to opt out from the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody we care about, but only I think because Ren, you and I have covered them the last couple of years, but they're really deep on the depth chart. May or may not have made the roster, probably would have at least been around practice squad. Brad Seaton, backup offensive tackle, has played some games, has played some snaps for the Buccaneers over the last couple of years. But he is the only Buccaneer to do so.
This is interesting because if you look, the first thing when I saw that he opted out, and because most of the players that are opted out are bubble players, which means that
across the league, you mean?
Across the league, yes, across the league are bubble players, which means there's a pretty good chance I might not make this team. So if I opt out, I get a check, and I can come back and try again next year. So basically, it's a guaranteed year-long paycheck. Now, by NFL standards, it's nothing. By everyone else that lives in the United States, it's a big check. If you just opt out and don't want to come back, you get $150,000. But Brad Seaton falls under the high-risk category. I don't know what it is. There's a huge, long list of things that consider you at high risk, and it can be body weight. Like he's over 300 pounds. So that puts him on high risk. Like there's all kinds of things that put you on there.
So he's a big guy.
He's probably the biggest guy on the team.
He's bigger than DeMar.
Yeah, I always thought he was
huge.
Yeah, well, they're the same height, but I always thought that Seaton was taller with the helmet on and the cleats on.
Wow. Yeah. Brad Seaton's not tiny at all.
He's pushing 7 feet when he gets the cleats on and then gets the helmet on, He's 6'9". He was just as tall as Dot.
And he's got a lot of muscle on him too.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you opt out and you're a high risk player, you get $350,000. Now, if Brad Seaton, I don't think he was going to make the 53 man because you only keep one backup tackle, one backup guard, right? On the 53 man roster, you keep 7 linemen. You're starting 5, a backup swing tackle, and a backup swing interior.
No, you keep 9 on the 53. You take 7 into a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tackles he had to beat out were Haig, not happening.
Right.
The other one was Wells, but Wells is the one who filled in for Donovan Smith when Donovan Smith went down.
Right.
So after that, I thought he could have beat the next guy. I don't remember who it is. There might not even be a next guy.
It's Cole Garner.
Okay. You're fired.
Say it, Ren. Say it.
No. So, if he was on the practice squad and was on it for all 17 weeks, he would have made, because you make $8,000 a week. So he would have made $138,000. That's if he made the practice squad and stayed there. Now, I'm not here to speculate and say it was a money grab. I'm just saying that if it was, I think it was a smart thing to do. If you have 2 people in front of you that are probably going to make the 53 over you, and if you want to hang out on the practice squad, maybe, or you can take more than twice the amount of money, almost 3 times, no, but over twice the amount of money, and sit out a year and try again next year. As a bubble guy, I think that's something that you seriously consider.
And you're not putting yourself at risk, which I mean, that is on everybody's mind, whether
that's
it's a thing for them or not. Like it is,
and that's what he said in his statement, and you can't dispute that. And you, right. I'm not here like, I can't believe you're not playing your money. That's not it. We've had this conversation before.
Sure.
Like,
it's a win-win either way.
It's a win-win for him, but there's a point that something that you feel you would never do, there's a point that you can get to in your life where you'll do it. Like I'm not going to do this. Oh yeah. Well, if it saves your kid's life, would you do it? Oh yeah, well, absolutely I would. So there's this point for all of us. And I just think it's a smart business move by him to do it. So, for him, it's a win-win. He gets to play football next year. He gets to be safe because he isn't a high risk thing, and he gets $350,000. So,
which is more than what he'd get if he stuck around the practice squad.
Yeah.
Although we should say it's less though than what he would get if he was getting game checks every week because he was on the 53. But we said he probably wouldn't make that.
Yeah, and if somebody gets injured and then he gets called up to the 53, I don't know what that payment becomes. But yes, he would make more money.
It's like $27,000 a game is the minimum. It equates out to just shy of like $500,000 for the year. So it's not as high as that. It's much higher than what it would be on practice squad. It's kind of right in the middle for him being in that high risk category. So,
and I'm sure he did the math. Like, okay, I'd have to be active for this many games and be on the practice squad for this many weeks to make $350K. And again, not yelling at him, not telling that, not. I just want everyone to understand that what might have went into his thinking. And if I was in his shoes, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, it's a win-win. I'm going to be safe. We're going to protect our family. We're going to circle. I'm going to miss football. I love football, but on the other hand, I get,
the most
twice
money I've ever made.
What I was expected. Yeah.
The most money I've ever made. And I'll see you next year.
And I don't get penalized. I can still come back next year. Stay in shape and go do you, Brad. And hopefully, because I know every single Buccaneer, all 80 of them listen to the show religiously 4 times a week. We hope to see you back next year. We really do. We have,
yeah, I think I had to make in the final 53.
Yeah.
Or the first 53.
The initial 53.
The initial 53.
Well, that's going to wrap up our transactions. Moving over to headlines, there's been a bit that has come out. Ren, one of the places we always like to look at for our headlines and for the things that we come out is the press conferences coming out. Coach had a few this week, a few things that we want to pull out, but let's go back to that conversation we were having about the running backs. And specifically, the big one that sort of came out that everybody jumped on, the ROJO thing, where he said, ROJO's the guy. He is the number one guy. Everybody else is kind of in competition for those last couple of spots. But we talked about those last couple of guys. Let's talk about ROJO now. I don't know that we've had too much of a conversation about him, but I certainly know the videos that I've seen. He's looked great. He made a huge step from year 1 to year 2, and we anticipate another step moving forward. All the videos we've seen, everything we've heard from players and coaches seem to indicate that next step. And one of those big steps that they've come is that he has apparently worked a lot on his pass catching. And Coach Arians said that has been evident from the day he stepped back onto the practice field there at $1, that his pass catching has greatly improved this year.
Yeah, I think he caught 100 passes a day for about a month straight while doing, other work, but he really concentrated on it. Tom Brady,
you're serious about that? Like that's you're not just joking. Like he really?
No, I saw
the
a
report
post.
You heard was 100 a day.
Yeah, he caught 100 passes a day. I think he was out in Arizona. It was where he was doing his off training, stuff. And then when Tom Brady came into town, they started having practice out at Berkeley Prep. Mm-hmm. Apparently ROJO made it out to a few, if not all, who knows. But Tom Brady had made some comments about how he liked ROJO, mm-hmm. And what he can do with the ball in his hands. So, it was going back to the Shady McCoy thing where I kind of alluded to it, where a lot of Bucs fans automatically thought like this is a battle for number 1. Oh, there's no trust in ROJO. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm glad this BA just came out and said it. It's like, It's ROJO's job. Like, it'll be ROJO. He has to lose it, and he's not going to lose it before week 1 of the Saints because he can't. Because they don't, there's he can't fumble every time he touches the ball in a preseason game. Like he can't lose it. So it's going to be his for at least the first 6 weeks, no matter how bad he plays.
Right.
And I don't expect to be bad. I expect a big year from ROJO. That last half of the season, especially those last 4 games, like things really started to come together for him, and he looked great.
And hopefully we get an improved offensive line this year, which will help out that whole situation again. And we'll move forward with ROJO. But I'm excited. I have not been this excited for a running back in Tampa Bay for a long time. Not since Doug Martin when he came back off that huge year he had.
Yeah,
we were expecting a big thing, and hopefully we just don't have the letdown that happened then. So, all right, so that's ROJO. You mentioned though, Ren. Actually, I forget what you mentioned, so forget that I just said that. Some other guys that Bruce Arians was talking about that he mentioned by name said that Scotty Miller has come in and is looking great. Said Justin Watson is running faster than he's probably ever seen him running before. Mm-hmm. I know you and I and Prime had a big discussion about Justin Watson.
Right.
And kind of going, as he's kind of that last guy, maybe won't he? But what it sounded like BA was saying in the middle of that is, with no preseason games for these guys to come in, this really is the guys who've been around, the guys that we know, it's going to be theirs. Like it's theirs to lose. They don't have that ability to go in and lose the job, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah, when we mentioned about, sort of that last running back spot, it's going to have to do, between Dare and TJ Logan, it's sort of the same thing for that wide receiver 5. I think they're keeping 6 this year. But BA went out of his way to mention that Justin Watson led the team in special teams tackles, so there's something he can do. He can be a gunner. They know he's fast, and right. I think they like his skills. Scotty Miller's put on 10 pounds. Apparently, he's like, what a shocker, small white guy, Tom Brady's favorite receiver. Like, right. It's out there now. Like, it's a fact. Tom Brady loves Scotty Miller, loves him. Did you see that last Instagram post of him? It was something like, it was a picture of Tom Brady, and he was dropping back to pass at Bucs practice, and it was something like, who's open, or let's get ready, or who wants to catch a ball, and he tagged all the receivers, right?
And Scotty was first.
Well, Scotty was first.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
Yeah.
that.
And I'm like, huh. Now it means absolutely nothing. Or
Right.
does it?
Ooh.
But I'll tell
Ooh.
you, remember last year when the Buck social media team was pushing SMB on us?
Yeah.
Sean Murphy Bunting. And I kept saying, like, watch out for Sean Murphy Bunting. They really like this guy. You know who they're pushing on us this year?
Scotty.
John Franklin.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
Yeah.
he's probably been in the most photos than anybody.
Is he?
I think so.
Is he?
Except for Tom Brady, of course.
Sure. Right.
But yeah, Jonathan Franklin has been in multiple photos because they've had 4 days. I think they only did really 1 day with defense and like 3 with offense.
Mhm.
Um,
And I'm sorry, Ren, just for those out there who may not be familiar with the name John Franklin, because this is a deep cut on the roster right now. He came around last year. He was a guy who played a little bit of quarterback. He's kind of played a little bit of everything,
right.
but found a niche as a wide receiver. And BA like sort of talked about him, I guess, in the background a little bit last year,
Yeah.
but they really loved him. And he wound up sticking around. I think he was on practice squad for a little bit, got called up, and he got some action towards the end of the season and made some things happen. We had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both go down last season, and he came up and he did some really nice stuff. And obviously he's back again this year. He was an undrafted free agent last year, I think he was.
Well, I can give you the story, and I'll do it real quick. But if you want to hear the whole story, Stroud actually did an interview with him on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Rick Stroud, writer for the Tampa Bay Times. He's been there forever, been covering the Bucs forever. And he has a pod called Sports Day Tampa Bay, and he did an interview with John Franklin. Basically, John Franklin was one of those guys that was like the best athlete wherever he went, but things just kind of didn't work out. I don't know if is it him, or is the coaches didn't like him, or is it his attitude, or he just kept on getting like rough breaks. But like he was at Florida State when they won the national championship. He actually ran the practice squad team and pretended to be Auburn's quarterback. And he felt like after the game, some of the defensive players came up to him and thanked him. Like if it wasn't for you, I don't know if we would have won this game. Like it was so much easier. So he was at Florida State, ended up leaving Florida State. I think he went to Auburn, ended up leaving Auburn, ended up going to Last Chance U, which is a show on Netflix, I believe.
It is. It's a good show. I watch it every season.
Okay, then you know who he is.
I don't remember him. Like I want to go back and find out what season he was on because I don't remember him, but I'll go back and look.
I think it was last season. Was it? Okay.
No,
it had to be 2 ago. Had to be 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Because he was in Last Chance U. He thought he was going to win the starting quarterback job. Didn't. Then they're in the national championship game for whatever division they're in, or whatever JUCO national championship. And the starting quarterback goes down in the first quarter. He comes in, scores 6 touchdowns in the first half. Then he goes to where Lane Kiffin's coaching, FIU, FAU. Always get those backwards. And he plays quarterback there. Has a pretty good season.
He was in the first season. Sorry,
first season of Last Chance U.
Yeah.
So then he doesn't get drafted, and he gets a new agent, and they want to see him play everything, like at his pro day. So he even lines up at cornerback. And I want to say the Bears or the Lions. I think it was the Lions signed him as an undrafted free agent as a cornerback. Ended up getting cut late in the season. Bucs pick him up and was on the practice squad for the last few games. Then he played, who's the quarterback for the Texans? Deshaun Watson in the Bucs scrimmage, and they thought he did such a good job. Then, as you mentioned, Evans went down, Godwin went down. He got in the game sometimes. They ran a wildcat option for him, and he gained 11 yards. That's the only really time he touched the ball last year. So it's one of these sort of athletes that Bruce Arians likes to find, and to be able to use him in a lot of different ways. And we talked about it when we were on with Prime. We did our 53 pre-training camp 53 roster predictions. I think we all had John Franklin making as the last wide receiver, and there's no shortage of him all over Buccaneers social media right now.
Interesting. It's interesting you put those pieces together, Ren. So, all right. John Franklin. Watch out, folks. Watch out. So I guess with that, Ren, the next thing that I pulled out of BA's press conference was he talked about Vita Vea a little bit and said that this, at least to start the season, Vita is going to be playing with a club on his hand. He's going to, I guess, a JPP style club going into the season. I don't know if you picked up on that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's going to look like, but certainly made me raise an eyebrow.
Well, he says he's fine. It's just this club's just going to be so he doesn't re-injure it.
Right.
So
do you know what the injury is? Like what he did to it?
He hurt his hand. I don't remember.
Okay.
He
just hurt his hand. All right.
Well, it's because well, I remember like he was supposed to have surgery, and then COVID hit, and then after elective surgeries were allowed to happen, it came out that he had surgery, and everyone's like, "Why didn't you get it earlier?" And it's like, "Well, because he couldn't, dummy. Quit yelling at the guy." Right. But I wish he would get a hook instead of a club. I think it would
be more fun.
It would be it would be cool. Just screw in the hook instead of screwing the club. Or if you're gonna do club, like you're gonna put the nails through it, like you do
like dude from Walking Dead.
Yeah, with the baseball bat, yeah. I think I would
go. Or get the attachment that like the T2 guy does from Terminator 2. That's like the big long sword.
Yeah,
that he can just
just put a claymore. Put a claymore sword on the end of that thing. Like cut, he just
you want to add on to that?
No,
get him a guns. Get him a Guns Akimbo gun. I don't know if you've seen that movie yet.
I just watched it. I fell asleep during the last half hour. I really liked it. I thought it was good.
You would like that movie.
Yeah. It was great. Funny movie. But a claymore is a Scottish broadsword. So
right.
Yeah. So they don't have those in PUBG, smarty pants.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Why? No Scots allowed in PUBG?
No, because they use guns.
Well, fair enough.
If you want to play PUBG with a run around with a sword, by all means, good luck.
I've been playing a lot of Zelda Breath of the Wild lately, so I'm running around with a lot of swords here. So anyway.
Any claymores?
Yeah, a lot of claymores. Anyway, we're not here to, this is not a gamer podcast. So Vita Vea being with a club on his hand as they go into
or a claymore or a laser.
The only other thing I pulled out of the Bruce Arians press conferences, what I want to say it was Jenna Lane asked the question, but apparently BA says that there are penalties in place for people who jeopardize the team with COVID-19.
Yeah.
For people who like break quarantines or like go out and do stupid stuff.
Yeah, they have it's monetary penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be fined for it. And then they set up a hotline too, anonymous hotline.
Did they really?
Yeah, you didn't see that? You didn't see my tweet?
No, I didn't. No, I
put like
I must have missed that one, yeah.
Well, oh yeah, I'm back on Twitter, everybody. Hello. Nice to see you.
Welcome back, by the way, Ren. You fell off. Can I just tell you, Ren, the number of people that I had either text or DM me going, "Hey, is Ren okay? He's gone." I was like, he's fine. He'll be back.
There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about, at least intelligently.
Ren, just so you know, the people out there care and they missed you.
Sure. So what was I talking about? What was I talking about? Jenna Lane said
Claymores.
What?
Oh no. Jenna, they asked about the penalty for
and the hotline. Yeah, the hotline. Yeah. So it's an anonymous hotline. So we have to get that number because my tweet was like, I saw Drew Brees not wearing a mask, licking his fingers at a bar, putting money in the jukebox to play Nickelback. That's a 16-game suspension right there.
Goodell loves Nickelback. That'll take a few of them off.
Is that a fact?
Yes, it's a fact. I don't know if that's true or
not. Okay. Yeah. Sources may not be accurate. Sources say
I have a source inside the building.
Oh, I'm wrong. That's what my source told me. What do you want me to do? Get another source? Maybe use two sources like every other reporter. Yeah. So yeah, there's a COVID anonymous hotline where you can rat on your fellow teammates, I guess.
Snitches, stitches.
Dude, I would so do that. Like 2 days before the Saints game, I would have every player call up and say they saw Drew Brees. Like get the you know what, you want to pull your weight social media, start doctoring videos and enter Drew Brees at one of
Oh
these
my gosh.
COVID house parties.
Okay, I got a question.
Sure.
This is a real theoretical question, I guess, here.
Okay.
You can call in to the anonymous hotline on one player,
Yeah.
right? You can
Cam
do any
Newton.
player you want.
Cam Newton.
It's Cam Newton. Who do you call in on and rat them out of whether it's true or not? You say Cam Newton?
This is because I just don't like him so much. Maybe Gerald McCoy. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Either one. They're so
You still are. Oh man.
He's a phony. He's a big phony.
Yeah.
Great guy, of course. Yes, great guy. Humanitarian.
Community guy, right?
Great community guy. Just everything he says is
funny.
freaking disingenuous. I would probably
There's
let's
no
do
love lost between Brent and Gerald McCoy.
He
There's a
doesn't-
lot of Bucs fans out there that still love Gerald. Think
Yeah,
he's
they
one
do.
of the best players the Buccaneers have ever had.
He is
And-
one of the best players the Buccaneers ever had. He is. Terrible leader.
Mm.
Never took blame
So-
for anything. Covered himself in glory anytime he could. Jump off sides every time the team got inside the 10-yard line. Every time. That's not true. Almost every time. But anyway, the
Yes.
one player I would probably have to be Drew Brees because we got to play him twice.
Uh-huh.
I know no one on the Panthers, maybe Matt Ryan because he actually wears a brassiere. I don't know. Yeah, it would have to be Drew Brees.
I would
And then-
I would
yes!
I would not choose Drew
Because
Brees, but I
because
would
it-
choose somebody else on the same.
No, it would have to be Drew Brees because then
No.
Jameis would play.
I don't even care about that. It's because I have discovered this.
You don't want to see
offseason-
Jameis Winston throw like 8 interceptions against us in
That'd
2
be awesome.
games.
That'd be awesome.
See?
I wonder how many interceptions Jameis Winston has thrown over his years to his own defense. Obviously, I'm talking about in camps and practices and stuff. But I'd be interested to know how many times he's been picked.
Oh,
off.
that's just because he's testing the defense. He's seeing what he
does.
can. He's just seeing what
does.
he can throw in. Yeah. okay.
for as
Well, try. But the trick is not to do it during the game.
right. That
Newsflash.
the way you practice is the way you play. I have held my coaching sessions this season. The way you practice is the way you play. And it's, you know what? That is a true mantra. That is an absolutely true mantra.
So do you put the only kid that can like field it as a pitcher and the only kid that can catch it first and just hope for the best?
I generally put the best glove at first, and I put the best arm at short.
Really? The ball makes it a shortstop?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. It very I put like I put my smartest player at pitcher because that's the one that has the most where do I go with the ball in this particular moment.
Okay.
So I put my smartest player at pitcher, my best glove at
first.
my best arm at short.
Now, is your
And
best arm at T-ball, is that accuracy or power? Or is it usually the same one and the same?
It's some mixture of that, but I'll remind you I'm not in T-ball anymore either.
Oh, excuse me. They're actually
Yes.
throwing the ball now?
It's a machine.
Well, I guess it speeds the game along. I remember playing like
but
little
it's a
league,
better
minor league.
game. But it's a better game.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
It's a
People-
better game.
Yeah, they can tie their own shoes.
It's true. They can go to the bathroom without help. Some of them still can't swing a bat to save their life, but other ones can. So
Well, that's your job,
great.
coach.
that's exactly right. And you get the gamut.
You practice the way you play, except for you, Tommy. You stink. You're never gonna play.
Right. I'll tell you who I'd rat out. I'd make up the biggest story was Cam Jordan.
Oh yeah.
He has become Brent Allen's numero uno public enemy number 1. I do not like this guy.
Let's give a little taste of what he did. What would you say?
Oh my gosh. You put me on the see. I'm not good on the spot like that, Ren.
Sorry, you're only a creator. Create.
Yeah.
Does he eat babies?
No, but I would definitely. He was in the grocery store licking ice cream. I saw that.
Okay.
And obviously not wearing a mask is a given.
Push the lesbian.
You know what he did? He also punched the old guy who's in a wheelchair who's greeting people at the door as he came in when they said you got to go have a mask.
Who's a veteran?
Yeah, that's what he did.
He's an Army vet, the last surviving
on his way to go lick the ice cream. That's
the last surviving D-Day veteran.
Oh, this just went dark quick. But yeah, that's that. I would rat out Cam Jordan just because I don't want him. I don't like. Anyway, that's it. All right, that's all I had for the BA presser. Ren, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with BA?
Nah, we're gonna get lots of those.
All right. Brady had a presser, and honestly, it was very boring.
Yeah, I don't think he answered one question. It's like he had his talking points and turned every if your question mentioned one word that was in his talking point, that was that was the answer that he gave. Man,
hey, Tom, how do you think people are preparing and to deal with COVID? Well, my diet and my exercise, the way I care for my body.
Yeah,
that's exactly, by the way, how that particular question went.
Yeah, and so did the rest of them.
Right. The only thing that he said that made me kind of raise an eyebrow was he said, talking about the differences of now playing with a new team. Is he's like, yeah, look, I haven't had to look at a playbook in 19 years.
Yeah.
Now I do. I was like, huh, interesting. All right, so there's Brady. Facility changes. BA talked about there being a lot of facility changes. Said ownership has done a great job changing the facility around and making some things happen. Ren, I think you're more up to date. The biggest thing that I know of, and this really isn't a facility change, is I know everybody, and this is including staff, media, people who are on the field, have to have these little GPS
dog collars,
proximity tags, right? And they get zapped in their throats if they get too close to somebody else.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing videos of that happening.
Yes. On all the Saints. Anyway.
No, they beep this household.
It's in a lanyard around their neck.
Smoke detector type noise.
Yeah. Goes, get away, get away.
Yeah. So, well, I guess the facility changes. What I thought was the things that the Glazers did and spent the money to, like the trailer for the reporters, that's not free.
Right. Did we talk about that on air, or was that a pre-air conversation?
We talked about that on air about how, you
guys all know that.
Yeah. So, I think the offensive line in the media room, Brie said they knocked down some walls to make spaces bigger so they could have bigger meetings. They've moved
what walls are those walls in their, what would traditionally be their regular meeting rooms?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to ask a question on the Zoom call.
Well, were you on the Zoom call?
I watched it. But
yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I was. I couldn't unmute myself. It was weird. So they've put up tents.
Your mic wasn't right.
Hello. I can't hear myself. I can't do this if I can't hear myself. I've been on the beat for 5 years. How come I can't hear myself? Those are all inside jokes that no one will find funny. But I guess they've put tents up and they've moved some of the meetings out there for more space. They've moved the weight room outside, some of it outside for more space. So
yeah, I heard the cornerbacks are meeting under the elm tree in the quad. No, it's a college joke. Go ahead. Anyway,
what college?
Any college. Every college has a quad with an elm tree that classes happen underneath. Anyway, go ahead. Go on.
Really? Okay. Well, that was it. You killed it. Good job. It's all right.
You're welcome.
It's all right.
For my next comedy show, you guys can find me at the Comedy Zone.
What are you going to call it? Elm Tree? Brent Allen live, Elm Tree.
In the quad. That's
In
what
the
we'll call
quad.
it. In the quad. Yucking it up in the quad. Hey, facility changes, defensive line depth. Ren, this was one you sent me. You said you wanted to talk about defensive line depth. We've discussed this before on another pod. Is there anything new going on with it?
No.
You just want to talk about it again?
It's still scary.
Okay.
It's still scary.
Why are we talking about it again, though?
Because it's still scary.
Okay.
It's very scary. No, what I need is
defensive line
depth. or proven defensive line depth, or a couple of games into the season where I've seen these guys, where I can feel better. It's just going to be like that. Every team has a weakness. Even if we had better defensive line depth, interior and edge, there would be some. Then I'd be on to linebackers. Like, who the hell's behind White and David? Like, there's always going to be something. Even if we had 22 Pro Bowlers, there would still be a weak position that I would complain about and be like, oh, this worries me. What if 4 linemen go down? Then we got to start a guy that's only been to 1 Pro Bowl. That's not so. But with Anthony Nelson being the first guy off the bench as your edge, and with Nacho being your first guy on the interior defensive line, it's can't have any injuries there. So, I just wanted to bring that up again. Let everybody know that Ren's a little antsy about the defensive line depth. The front seven's great. I put the front 7 against any other defense.
Starting front 7.
Yeah. No, yeah. What other front 7 would I be talking about? The second string front 7?
Just clarifying. That's it.
You clarifying under the elm tree in the quad?
Yes. Nobody's going to understand that because I'm going to cut that out of the. I'm going to cut the original portion of that out of the show.
So you're going to make me look stupid. Nice.
All right.
The perks of editing.
The biggest news, the biggest thing everybody seems to be talking about coming out of training camp this week, Red.
Mm-hmm.
We've referenced it a few times on the show already. The Man-zier.
Right.
That we've known for a while. We've seen it for the past couple of years. Yeah. But I have to admit, it seems to be far more prevalent this year.
Yeah. Well, no one's wearing shirts.
Cool. Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah. It's
like so many guys look like they're, extras in the Top Gun volleyball scene. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a lot of pictures of
thinking of a photo specifically of Tristan Wirfs right now that's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's photos of guys that, like they're like slow-mo jogging on the beach. It's very, whoever's taking these pictures is I don't know what they got to do, but chill out a little bit. So there's all these
cold showers.
There's all these pictures. These shirtless guys are all ripped in these Catapult. And they look like sports bras. They do. But they do what, Brent?
Well, they are more than just sports bras. They actually hold all of these metric devices that measure everything that you could think of. It's all that next-gen stats of speed and burst and how much force exertion they're using and what their heart rates are at every given moment and what it's by a company called Catapult Sports. If you go to their website and try to look up what their stuff actually does, you won't find it.
Yeah.
It'll just say, know what you need to know to see if it's going to help them come back from injury, if they're actually ready to come back from injury, or know what you need to know before you know what situation you're sending them into. Like that's all it is. But
I tried
it's
to
a medical device. Really,
I tried to download a brochure, and they wanted my name, my address, my phone number, my email address, just to download the brochure. I'm like, no.
Because you're basically calls from all their salespeople saying, "Hey, you want to buy this $100,000 system?" And you're like, "No."
But you can track it on your phone, and basically, it's more for peak performance. Basically, what it really does, in my opinion, is it transmit to the trainers what each person's body has lost during the workout, and they can take that information and put it back in their bodies. Maybe if it's salt, or if it's electrolytes, or if it's protein, and basically it speeds up the recovery time. So it gives you, so you feel better from practice to practice. And in theory, you're practicing at your optimate level day after day after day after day.
And maybe that'll help Mike Evans to stop getting those full body cramps that he is so prone to getting.
You're just off today.
Fair enough.
I don't remember him getting any full body cramps.
You don't remember Mike Evans going down multiple times in training camp just last year.
Oh,
You don't remember that?
What did I just say?
Wow. I'm surprised you don't. Mike Evans gets cramps seems like at least twice a week. 2-3 times. I mean, he does. Like he goes down, has to leave the practice field like twice a week.
I do, yeah. I kind of remember him having to leave the practice field every once in a while.
I'm not off. You just have no memory, Red.
I have no memory. I have no memory of the elm and the quad. I have no memory of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you.
All right, Ren.
What?
One last topic.
Can we make it?
Yes, we can.
All right.
One last topic, and this is one that I feel like is probably going to be right up your alley. You're going to love this topic, and I'm just going to let you go off of it. Step 1 in the organization controlling the message.
Yeah. We talked to Greg Allman recently, and we brought him on, and we talked about, and there was this tier system and how many reporters could get out on the field and what they could report on. Like, they didn't want them reporting on formations or who was running with the 1s and the 2s on both offense and defense, who was returning punts, like who was throwing to who on which, like nothing, like can't report on anything. And now that we have, actual pictures where reporters are allowed in, and now they're keeping them 100 yards away. Like they're putting them in the opposite end zone, and then they're practicing on the other end of the field, like on purpose. But if you go to Buccaneers.com or you follow them on Instagram or Twitter, the organization is putting out tons of videos of Tom Brady throwing to different receivers, of cornerbacks backpedaling. So I feel this is like step 1 of the NFL letting the organizations craft the message that goes out to people. And I don't like it because I think it's dangerous. Like I'm not saying I don't want other media outlets in there because they're going to dig up this dirty stuff and be gotcha. But I definitely don't want my only information about my team coming from the organization. That's never worked ever in history. It's always a bunch of flim flam bull crap. But eventually, absolute power absolutely corrupts, or corrupts absolutely, however you want to say it. Like it's a cliche for a reason. And I don't like it. Like I don't, and it's not that, I'm upset for Greg or Cook or Joe Buck's fan or Jenna. Like I could really care less. They have to do what they have to do. But I don't like how the NFL is basically showing the media the door this year.
I agree on numerous levels, and here's the fallout of it. This is why I think it impacts part of the reason why we get so invested in the team. I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I think part of the reason why, at least I know I get invested with the team, is because of what I know about the team and who I know about the team and all of the I hate to say the storylines, but all of we know who these players are. Mm-hmm. We know what they're going through. We know the backstory. We know what's happening off the field. We know what's happening on the field. And that causes you're in the minutia of it enough that is interesting to follow through the year. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You remember when we did the AAF?
Yeah.
And even a bit with the XFL, we didn't cover that at all. But when we did AAF specifically, the thing I kept saying was, I don't give 2 flying rips about any of these people.
Yeah.
I don't care about them. So I don't necessarily care about the game either. Like I did a little bit. I cared about it a little bit more than I think I cared about it more at the end than I did at the beginning. But that was because I started to get to know people and I got to see what was happening and who was there and, you know, which players were coming to the top and which ones weren't, even as they figured it out. When the team controls all of that information,
Mm-hmm.
when the team puts everything into the best light like that, when the team not only puts it into the best light, but even doesn't bring out certain things. Because one of the things we've talked about on this show, Ren, when you go out to training camp and you see 30 people in that line between the fans and the field where the media is allowed to be, yeah, they're all looking at the same thing, but everybody could be looking at something different at the exact same time.
Yeah,
And
there's so much going on.
And this viewpoint, and this viewpoint, and this viewpoint, and this viewpoint, that when we come back and we kind of read it all together, we collate it all together, you get a really good picture of what was happening around the team.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that if the team is the only eye doing that.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody in the editing booth going, don't put that out, don't put that out, put that out, don't put that out, don't put that out, don't put that out, put that out. Like you lose so much of what makes following the team fun.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that. More, you know, I'm not so much worried about the fluff. Like we've all got the BS radars. Like we know when you're just blowing smoke up our asses, right? We know when the team's just trying to put on whatever, and you know, you just sort of glance over it. But if that's the only thing you're getting and you don't have the outlets for anywhere else, it's tough. It's real tough. So
here I agree with you 100%, but also, you know, what, like you said with the AF, like I don't know these people, so I don't care about them, right?
Right.
Now, with so many outlets that are covering the Bucs and so many of them are going to do it this year, it's going to be a little harder because I have to do it through Zoom, but you get to know, like, you get to know the rookies, you get to know the vets, like, and every year, like, you'll hear something more about them from all the other outlets. Like, I talked to this guy, I talked to that guy, this, you know, this is what I think about this player, this, you know, and even if you go to 3 different outlets, they have 3 different opinions on one player. There's going to be something in each one of those little articles that has a common thread. So at least you can take that out. But with the Bucs media staff isn't big enough to give us enough information to make us care about all these players. They can't crank out enough videos. They can't crank out enough articles for us as Buck fans to be satisfied.
Right.
And what you're going to end up doing is pissing people off and getting them not to care because what they're getting isn't what they want to get. That's why there's people that only read Pewter Report. That's why there's people that only read Joe Bucks Fan. That's why there's people that only go to Buccaneers.com, because that's the style and stuff they want to know. If I can only get my information from Buccaneers.com, what I wouldn't be a podcaster.
And that's nothing against Scott Smith, or Carmen or anybody over there. It just,
they're doing their job.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, I love Scott, I love Carmen. They are maybe the 3rd or 4th place that I go look for stuff. Like I hear about stuff outside and then like, well, I wonder if they said anything about it. And then I go check out and see what they said. Like they're not my source for news.
No. And because that's my style, because it's not, and again, it's not their fault and they know it. Right. I mean, like when we've had them on the show, like, is there anything you don't want to talk about? I don't want to talk about this. Okay. You know, TJ Reeves. Hey, TJ, you know, I work for the Bucs. There's certain things I can't talk about. Okay. What are they? Okay. No problem. Right. We have on, you know,
Casey.
Casey. Yeah. You have on Scott Reynolds. Scott, is there anything you want to talk about? Like, we don't even ask him that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to talk, like, we can ask any question
Scott
we
will
want.
tell us anything. That's right.
Yeah. So if there's an article about like that Carmen or Scott writes, it's not my style, because it's gonna be all positive and it's gonna be fluff and it's gonna be something, you know, it's I get it. It's like training camp battles. Here's some training camp battles to look at. Okay, but it's gonna be like it's going to be a battle between these two guys. They're really good. I'm excited to see them both. I read a training camp battle on Pewter Report. It's going to be this guy's going to win, and here's why, because this guy's not very good. It's totally two different types of reporting. And again, I'm not saying the Buccaneers.com is bad. It's just not the only one I want. And if it is the only, and if it's the only one that I get, like I'm just not going to care as much because it's not my style.
I'm with you. And hopefully that's continues to change and alter. And, we'll see what happens, especially as we get closer to the season. I care.
But see, when the season starts,
I care right now. I care way more about it when I get to the season.
Right. But when the season starts, they only get like a half hour anyway. You know what I mean? Right. So
Right.
the things they're going to miss out on is like the open locker room and the relationships that they'll be able to write these stories,
right,
about things that they learn and hear being around the players. Just so you're not going to be being around the players. So like watching practice from afar in training camp when the season rolls around, it doesn't matter because during the season, they only get to watch for a half hour and 15 minutes of it stretching. Then maybe they do some Tom Brady will throw the ball to, the receivers for like 10 minutes. All right, go back inside. And that's all they get. That's why, you hear in these press conferences where you'll hear like maybe Ira asks the same question to the three people on the podium that day. It's because he's writing a story and he needs quotes for his article, because you can't build an article on what you see at practice because you don't see practice during the week. But training camp, that's what it's all about.
Right.
And they're just not letting anybody in, and it's I just don't like it. Like I said, it's a precedent that I do not like. I just feel like it's it's just step one of
And wasn't it Greg himself when he was on here? And forgive me if I'm misattributing this, but basically said this is what the NFL has wanted to do for a long time anyway.
Yeah,
they've really wanted to do this for quite a while, and they finally, frankly, have an excuse to do it.
Yeah.
So
they have a means to do it where no one can push back on.
Right.
Because if you do, you don't care about player safety, you don't care about your own safety, you don't care about BA's health or Tom Moore's health, so you're like, well, of course I do, but you're not letting me do my job. Well, yeah, we are. Just do it from way over there. Don't worry, it'll be back to normal later. And then later comes, and it's not back to normal, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I understand why they wouldn't do open locker room. I understand why they would keep people back. I don't understand why they put the lockdown and the restrictions that they do on practice, especially during training camp. I don't know why that is a change this year. That doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like in lieu of open locker room, they could still do something else. I mean, I know they said, yeah, we'll still get Zoom calls with players if we request them, but I mean, part of, this, so much of what you get is like, hey, I'm going to walk with you from the practice field back to the building.
Yeah.
Can we talk? Yeah, sure. And that's when you get to have that conversation, not.
Yeah, because there's not 30 people. Yeah, because your guard's down a little bit. And maybe, you've already known them a little bit. Hey, how are your kids doing? Great. Oh, I saw you went out to eat. Was that good? Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, it was good. I've eaten there too. Do you recommend it? Yeah, okay, great. I'll go there. Hey, by the way, I saw Tom chew out a little bit. Was that cool or what happened? And they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But if you're on a Zoom call with 30 people listening.
I'm sorry. Do you know who might be the best, just observationally, who might be the best person at that around $1?
Isbits.
To me, no. Not to me anyway. Is Jenna Lane. Watching the way that Jenna interacts with the players, she looks like she has a personal relationship with each one of these guys out there.
Oh, you mean that you've seen?
Yeah, that I've seen. I can't say that I've been, eavesdropping on their conversation, so I don't really know, but just visual evidence, anecdotal evidence of going. I remember watching Jenna with Peyton Barber. They look like they were old friends.
Yeah. Okay.
Now
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But I've seen her do that with several players. It just, less business and more just being able to talk. But Jenna goes in and pulls out whatever she needs to write her pieces for ESPN.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. When you watching sort of like Greg Auman or Stroud or Isbitz or Ira or Reynolds or Cook talk to a player one-on-one is much different than watching Jenna do it. Yeah. But I thought you meant as far as like being the observation, picking up on the little nuances of this, that, and the other thing, like the tiny things. They're like, oh, what? Like, hey, Tom Brady sent out a tweet and he lives with Scotty Miller first. Like, oh. I think that's his bits.
Oh, yes. Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Over there at their place. So, all right, Ren. Well, that is going to get it for us here. Week 1 training camp wrapped up in the books. Week 2 starts beginning now, maybe earlier today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Whenever it actually starts, I'm not really sure. But this is a weird one, Ren. It's
What's
just
that?
a weird, just training camp, just a year. It's just a weird year, and we'll see how it works. No preseason games, no nothing.
Ren's Reflections, Roundup with Ren. What did I call it the first time?
Training Camp Journal. Ren slams everybody else out there.
I said bad.
Ren's slam book. There you go.
Slam poetry with Ren.
There you go. There you go. We'll go back to high school. All right, Ren. Well, with that, when you release that book, why don't you let people know where they can get in contact with you if they have anything they'd like to discuss with you on a personal level?
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you don't want to put your opinion out there on blast, feel free to slide in my DMs. We can talk Buccaneers football there as well, too.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is at the Pewtercast on Twitter and on Facebook and now on Instagram as well. And over at YouTube, where you can watch, not just listen to this podcast, but you can actually watch us as we record it. And by the way, you catch all the behind the scenes stuff and the stuff that we cut out of the actual audio podcast, because believe it or not, stuff does get cut out from time to time. It's all left in over there at YouTube. So you guys go over there, check that out, subscribe, hit the bell icon, email us to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We'll get to those on a future episode. It's been a while since we've had an email, Ren. But
good.
But listen, you guys,
God.
And we will catch you guys next time here at the Pewtercast. So until then, go Bucks.